We had an excellent game of Battletech yesterday. And when is any game of Battletech not excellent? The mission that we were exploring was this idea that a Krita informant was being escorted to a dropship, being escorted off planet, off world. House Davian wants him. House Steiner wants him. Mercenaries want him. And he paid a bunch of mercenaries to deliver him to the drop site and get him off planet. Of course, Davian found out about it. Mercenary groups, my mercenary company, the Dogs of War, found out about it. And we're going to try and capture this rogue agent. So essentially with Battletech, it was a cash and grab. Two sides going against each other, but the pirate forces, which consisted of a Maxim hover tank and two Hetzers, were moving down a road. It was going to kind of pre-programmed AI. Every turn, they were going to move maximum speed down this road, and if they made it to the other side of the road, along the gaming table, they escape. If they don't, they can be captured by moving into base and literally extracting this informant. And the Hetzers and the Maxim were going to shoot at the closest target. And if there was some doubt as to both targets are closer, what's kind of the greater threat? So this kind of AI, but also at the same time, two players making a judgment call of what would they actually do in that moment? What would be the appropriate action? And early on, tactics aside, we're going to look at the mission a little bit more, share some ideas. I've been pushing that idea up to my blog. But it's interesting because in Battletech, you look through the technical manuals and you get an idea of the tactics. You get an idea of certain units, how they're going to work, or units that you might like. But then on the tabletop, you get to really see how they work. And on the tabletop, there's examples of a unit, and then in this case, we're looking at the Hetzer, a unit that is pressed into a role that it's not designed for, and then roles that it's pressed into which it's right up its wheelhouse. Like, this is perfect. And for this mission, the Hetzer was being used perfectly, absolutely perfectly, in that we had to get close. We had to get close in order to extract this informant from the hover tank. The two Hetzers were not going to leave the area AC-20, point blank. And they just tore apart everything. They tore apart everything. Davian had a Karnov land to try and extract. Boom, blasted the Karnov out. I had a fire starter that was running interference, cooking some infantry, doing the whole war crimes thing. And I figured, okay, I'll run it up there because I had taken some damage. It had kind of fulfilled its role. And I wanted to kind of run up and just maybe put something there to stop the vehicle. I wanted to stop this hover tank from moving so my other forces could move forward. I had a stalker. I had an awesome, the usual Fritz favorites. Even with that running and needed 11s to hit, I got hit. It just blew the fire starter in half. I mean, just gutted it in half. So I'm like, let me see that sheet. I know the Hetzer. I've got to pick up some of those models. I've been meaning to do it for a while. Anything you can have to justify purchasing new Battletech miniatures, absolutely. I look at it, it's like, what, 5-something, 575, 530, 5-something battle value for an AC-20. Pretty decent armor. Pretty decent. You could put down 4 or 5 of these in an 8K to 10K battle value game and just not even miss a beat, still have enough battle value for the rest of your toys. So right away, a very, very potent vehicle that if you are coming to it, and if you have reasons to pass by it, that's a really, really, really cheap battle value buy-in. Okay, so it's not a demolisher that has 2 autocannon 20s, that has a turret, that has heavy armor that's tracked, but this is like the budget AC-20. And what was interesting, the two drawbacks, though, I would say to keep in mind was, first, the fact that it doesn't have a turret. So if there's going to be a high maneuverability or flanker, if a Jenner, or in this case a fire starter, is going to run up behind you, and look, fire starter running up behind it was not optimal. But again, the fire starter in my list was there to bake the infantry, remove Davian infantry off the table, run a little interference, and then run up there and stop the hover tank. Just keep it in place for a turn or two, because that hover tank's moving 12 inches. So after like 5 turns, it's off the table. If I could keep it there 1 or 2 turns, that lets the rest of my forces move up. I also had a Jenner, of course, but the Jenner was tasked with other things, getting a little off tactics. But not having a turret means if you're not in that front firing arc, you're going to have to move. And that move is going to cost you. It's going to cost you a little bit of accuracy. Second, the fact that it's wheeled and not tracked is massive for motive hits. I mean, vehicles are bad enough with motive hits. Having wheels, I generally, for what you save in battle value, I generally don't like to take wheeled units. I want tracked units. There are a few like the Striker, which is a missile carrier that has a combination of short-range missiles and long-range missiles. Not the punch of a dedicated SRM or LM carrier. It doesn't have the tonnage or the battle value, but it has that ability, the duality to flip back and forth, decent armor, but it's wheeled. So when you take everything into account for a budget AC-20, I ask the question, then we'll turn it over to you guys in the comments. Again, playing 8 to 10K battle value, yes, a higher end Spectrum game, but those having 3 or 4 AC-20s with the mobility of a vehicle for minimal buy-in, battle value buy-in, and again, pretty decent armor for what it is, for the tonnage and everything, like auto include in the list. It was absolutely devastating to see the AI controlling this in the situation that we were playing. Interesting. Those of you out there in your collection, how many Hetzers do you have? And do you regularly play them? And in what role? Defense or more offense?